morning, day 5, heading out into a very bright and beautiful day. It's a bit cold and windy, but it is sunny and not a cloud in the sky, so it should be a great day. And I'm thinking I'm going to talk about love and relationships today, because that's what's on the forefront of my mind. I just spent the night with my girl, and romantic relationships have been a source of a lot of, I guess, a lot of different things for me, as they are for everyone. I mean, it has run the gamut from puppy love to true transformative changes as a result of a relationship. So I think we're going to talk about that today, talk about maybe some of the philosophy around love and relationships and the ways that our attachment styles can affect things, or at least the way that my attachment styles have affected my relationships, and how I'm trying to work on that these days so that my current relationship with such a wonderful woman works out in my favor, because this feels like the one, and I really don't want to let my shortcomings pull me away or push away this opportunity. So I'm going to get into work, get my truck loaded up, and I'll get back at you in a little while. See you soon. I'm like 20 stops in, and look at how crazy this loadout is today. We are stacked up, folks. Should still be a good day, though. I'm familiar with this route, and you know how it is. Let's get it done. So, a rescue driver just pulled up and took like 16 stops off me, so altogether, this is going to be a really easy day, I think. I'm definitely still going to get slowed down on the tremendous amount of overflow I have that is very poorly organized. It was a real rush to try to get that done in the amount of time I had this morning at loadout, but with a few extra stops off my plate, I should be doing just fine, and might even get off a little bit earlier than expected, which might be nice. I stretched out my hours last week to try to get a few extra bucks in, and then altogether my paycheck was like an extra $25. It's like, is $25 really worth an extra, hour and a half collectively of my time, like an extra half an hour each night that I could have spent at home? I'm not really sure, because I only worked 3 days last week and most weeks since the holiday season has been over. So yeah, we'll see. It might be nice to just get off a little early. And if you're not familiar with the Amazon system, a rescue driver is any extra driver that didn't have a route for the day might get sent out to do rescues, where they just go out and help other people make sure they get their routes done on time, especially people with bigger loadouts like I had today. So anyway, I'm going to keep it going. I've been on a very good pace so far, so I'm going to keep that up and hopefully have a little extra time to chat with y'all and maybe work on my videos in the meantime. So talk to you soon. So I just took a little break at the end of my day. I kind of did an interesting structure to my day today. Usually I don't wait till I'm done to take my last break and eat a little snack, but things were going quickly today. And especially since I got rescued earlier, got some packages taken off me. It was an easy day. So waited till the end, and I'm kind of just taking this break to stretch out my work time a little bit, take the opportunity to have a snack. I had some cereal, some strawberry protein Cheerios, which are banging if you haven't tried them. And bro, I want to know who conceptualized cereal. Like, shout out to them. I fucking love cereal. It is one of my favorite things that I barely eat anymore, just in the efforts of keeping a healthier diet and a lower calorie diet, really, because once I get started with a box of cereal, man, it is hard to put that shit down. But anyway, enough about cereal. I was listening to this couple hour long, I guess you call it podcast or maybe lecture, about attachment styles while I was driving around today, and it was a good preamble to what I wanted to talk about today, which is relationships and my pitfalls when it comes to them. And yeah, it was enlightening. It was enlightening, but also a bit confusing, because I definitely think primarily I identify with an anxious attachment style more than any of the others. But I think there's definitely aspects of me that are secure. There's definitely aspects of me that come out that are avoidant. And so I guess when it comes to these sort of things, it's really the most common theme is where you would be placed. So I think I identify most commonly with the traits of an anxious attachment style, and I have a blend of some of the others in there, which is fairly normal, as far as I understand it anyway. But it was interesting because it made me realize that lots of times I am triggered in the way that anxiously attached people are. Or really, primarily, I am triggered by that when I interpret, almost always wrongly, not always, but almost always wrongly, that my partner is pulling away, or maybe less interested in than I am, or less in love than I am, less sexually interested than I am, or any of those things. I have a reaction. But I've noticed that a lot of times that reaction is avoidance. Like I don't seek to pull them back in that exact moment. I have the desire to pull them back in, and I hope to pull them back in, but lots of times in the moment of being triggered, I become more like an avoidant, in the sense that maybe I want to put distance between us. I'm going to go home. I'm going to leave. I'm going to give you your space. I'm going to whatever. I pull away, or I emotionally kind of shut down, in the sense of now I feel numb. Now I feel distant. And those are more aligned with how I react once I've been triggered, but the trigger is very much an anxious attachment style. So it's definitely something I want to continue to work on. As I've come further and further into this journey towards peace and self-development and really knowing myself better, it's become a lot easier to manage these things that I might not have had a great concept around before, but they've just naturally improved as I've understood my behaviors and my thoughts more, and also learned the skill of putting a little space between a thought or emotion and my reaction to it. So that's really great, and I hope that in combination with my existing practices, this sort of context and newer knowledge that I have about the dynamics of attachment styles can help me, because it has been a problem in relationships before, and I don't want to fall into old patterns with my current relationship, because I've been with my girlfriend now coming up on a year pretty soon, in a couple months, and we met almost a year ago. I'm only a few weeks away from when we first met, and a couple months away from when we made it official, but I think this is the one. I really do. This relationship has been wonderful. This connection we have has been wonderful, and she's a really wonderful person who not only ticks a lot of my boxes, but inspires me to improve. She inspires me to chase what I want. She's supportive. She's so loving and providing in a way that I've never experienced in a relationship. Like, this is by far the healthiest, happiest, and most, it's hard to say most loving, but I think most purely loving relationship I've had, because there's not really been any ups and downs on her end, in terms of showing her interest, showing her love, showing her support, and constantly providing, in a sense. Like, she always wants to make sure I have what I want, I have what I need, that I feel happy and content. And it's really sweet. She's a really sweet person, and a really good person, and I think it's great, because I aspire to be more like her in some ways, she aspires to be more like me in some ways, and we both have like a respect and admiration for each other. But one of the terrible things I do that is more of an avoidant tendency is that I feel like I've always been looking for like that perfect partner. Like, I always want to find like the one, and I know I'm saying that I think this is the one, and that is beautiful, and I'm so glad to feel that way, but I just want to be careful of falling into some of my former pitfalls, which is like attaching myself to small problems in the relationship, small personal issues that my partner might have, whatever, and making them out to be something bigger, and using that as an excuse to not follow through on the relationship, or using it as an excuse to be critical, because I don't want to be critical. I want to be supportive, and I want to be loving, and I think if you ask my girlfriend, she would say that I am supportive and I am loving, and I'm glad for that. But to some degree, this isn't that far in, and I want to be aware of the things that might come up, so that if they do start to come up within me as a result of fear of commitment, or fear of abandonment, or any of those things, that I might be able to mitigate my response a little bit, and not just fall flat on my face and do something stupid. So, something to keep in mind, and something that I think more people should look into, because it did make me realize that a lot of my close friends, I can see their tendencies and see their thought patterns a little bit more clearly from the outside than they can see from the inside, and I hope that they can find some clarity on it, because everyone deserves to find love and compassionate, supportive love, and it can be very hard to do that. Unfortunately, though, it often comes down to our own flaws and not the flaws of the people we go after. It's always a combination of both, but if we don't address our own flaws and our own shortcomings and recognize the patterns that we fall into, then it might be impossible to ever find that type of love. So maybe you can find someone who can shine a light on those things for you, but hopefully we can all do a better job of looking at ourselves a little more critically and shining a light internally to see what we might need to do. Another thing I kind of realized about myself that ties into what we talked about yesterday is that as someone who's anxious or anxiously attached, I often don't fully acknowledge my own desires, or I minimize them for the sake of the relationship or the sake of my partner. I definitely can think of many instances in current and previous relationships that I have a strong desire for something, or I have a strong personal inclination towards something that might be a relationship theme or a term of the relationship, or it might just be something situational, like, I want to get pizza, you want to get Thai food. Well, I guess we'll get Thai food because that's what you want. Or more seriously, it might be like, well, I want a relationship where we do things together and we work towards things together, but the other person wants to be more independent. So I sacrifice my desire to build a life together and allow them to just tell me how the relationship's going to be, instead of not fighting for what I want, but establishing what I want and being willing to walk away if it's not the right thing for me. And it's hard to piece these two things together, because on one hand, I don't want to seek perfection and use that as an excuse to leave relationships, but on the other hand, I can't be subject to a relationship that isn't good for me. And by no means am I talking about my current situation. Like I said, it's a beautiful relationship that I am so grateful and so lucky to have. But there are times where I find myself suppressing my wants and needs because I don't feel that they are valid, I suppose. That I think it's a burden on the other person for me to express my desires and needs, because then they might feel obligated. And it's a double-edged sword, because I don't want someone to do anything for me out of obligation. I want them to want it. And I feel like if I voice it, then they're only going to be doing it out of obligation. And these are all just bad thought patterns. I know that in reality this is a bunch of bullshit, and people probably don't have these thoughts. My girlfriend would love to do what I want and need, because she's made that very clear, that she wants me to have the things that I want and the things that I need within reason, that don't compromise her wants and needs. But yeah, I find myself holding myself back in relationships. It's one of the crucial areas of my life that I've struggled to develop myself in the most. I've been much better at my independent life. There was a long time where just living in my own head was quite unbearable, and I've made tremendous strides in that department. But when it comes to creating a lasting, loving relationship with someone else, I have some pitfalls still, and I get in my head, and I have a hard time getting out of it a lot. So, something to consider, something to work on, and I'm grateful for the opportunity today to think about it and to talk about it. And I hope that anyone out there can start to look at themselves a little bit more critically and use that as a stepping stone towards a happier, more peaceful life for themselves and for their relationships and for all the people around them that love them and connect with them. If we all did that, life would be a lot different, I think. So, best of luck to anyone out there. I'm going to finish out my day, and in terms of chatting, I think this will be the last we talk for today, but I'll show a little bit of the end of my night process, and I'll be back at you tomorrow. Thanks a lot, y'all. Good night.